foot onto the tar. That's when I text you Sunday when I went out to get my kid, and I said, then I said to myself later when I got home, I said, just bite the bullet, clean it up, and be done with it. Yeah, you use that.
We'll waste more time and energy arguing over it than... Nope.
We're live.
It's not 6 o'clock yet.
Okay.
Well, he turned
Well,
us on.
it's warm up. It's warm up.
There you go.
Ooh, la, 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 la.
Showing our humanity, that's all.
You doing a test run now, you, Paul?
Making sure it's up and going.
How's our volume?
There you go.
Check, check.
I know, I should tell my wife, hey babe, you're watching, how's the volume? Text me and let me know. People are complaining the volume's bad.
Yeah, I was at the hardware store and they were.
I don't know.
Well, I think when we go live, it's okay. So you're just saying on the replays?
On the replay on the channels
Last
26 or
week you
25 or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Not coming through, and that Paul figured out it's an Atlantic broadband problem.
You said live stream, I think is pretty good.
Well, even on some of the live stream, I have to put the earphones in to hear. I had it up to 100 and I could hear it, but I couldn't
They
understand
denied
it.
it.
How's YouTube though? Is
They're not
YouTube
having trouble
okay?
with the school
Oh, okay.
meetings.
I'm sorry?
I said Atlantic Broadband denied it because they're not having trouble with the school meetings.
Right.
So I think it was something that we tried at the last meeting, trying to accommodate the outside participation. That
Oh,
may have
really?
Created a problem. That
Well-
and people not speaking up.
Yep.
Yeah, you're looking at me when you say that, yeah.
I'm just saying.
Well, let me just say this about that. I had Atlantic Broadband out to the house 14 times, and we still don't know what the problem is, so.
Yeah.
And I'm using all their equipment, including the modem and the
I just don't understand
Wi-Fi.
it. I get the same package rate for like the last 5 years. I used to pay $124, and I pay $234, and I don't get nothing. It's just almost doubled.
Rates going up.
Going
I
up
got an
again,
email.
too.
Yeah, yeah, we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
Again.
Listen to my neighbor or something.
I'm going to hit the restroom quick.
He's joking.
Say that loud over the microphone.
We get the car packed, and now you have to go.
There you go.
The grandkids like that.
What's your first day back, Beth?
25th, I believe.
Sounds soon.
Yeah.
So the kids start before Labor Day,
Yeah, the kids start on the 30th.
30th?
Yeah.
You go for a couple of days and then have 4 days off
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah, that's in the MOU, isn't it? They always start ahead of Labor Day, so that
No, it's so many days after Co-Brown. So it
Oh,
goes
okay.
by Co-Brown, yeah.
I love it. I love being able to sort of ease in.
Get any more definitive date?
Still saying the last week in August, first 2 weeks in September. Basically, they're going to come in back-to-back, grind it, grade and compact, and then the following week they're going to come in and fine grade it and pave. So they're running in unison with Epsom right now, that's why. Because Epsom's running all their paving at the same time from now until the end of August. So,
You got the snitcher can?
yep. So our tin's actually getting ready to go out, so when I call them again on the tin cans, I'm going to tell them just to bring an
Okay.
empty truck.
Here we go. You ready? Good evening, everyone. I'm Hal Kreider, Select Board Chair. I'm calling the Select Board meeting to order at 6 p.m., starting with a roll call. Matt.
Present.
Tim.
Present.
Beth.
Present?
Jim.
Present.
And Hal Kreider. And we also have with us Walter, our town administrator, and Chris, our public works director. Is that your official title, Chris?
Foreman.
Foreman. Okay, thank you. Let's start with a pledge to the flag, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty Mr. Chairman, do we know Paul's here too, doing our notes and records?
Oh, yes, Paul Allard, our admin assistant, is here, keeping track of things for us. I'm going to now move on to citizens forum. Did we get any emails in? Does anybody have any emails from citizens? If not, then we're going to move on to ongoing business. The minutes of July 27th. Do I have a well, first off, does anybody have any comments or suggestions on edits? Tim?
On page 5.
Yes.
Line 39, it says board, us, I was talking about us, to say select board, to narrow it down, make sure they know it's,
39.
not all boards follow that procedure because they make their own rules, just the select board. Either I'm just-
Yeah, I think that's a good point.
Yeah,
Yeah. And, actually on that same one, just down below it, with justifiable, I don't know if reasoning or just reason is the right word. Anybody have a preference? No? Okay.
Nope.
Okay. So we'll just make the edit for the select board there then. I'm not hearing a lot of, a lot of angst one way or the other on that. Anything else? If not, do I have a motion to approve the minutes with that amendment?
Move to approve the minutes as amended.
Second by Tim. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Right?
Aye.
And Beth, are you abstaining?
Yes, I am.
Okay,
I
so-
watched it on the computer, though, but I was not here.
Could you hear it?
Yeah.
Good. I believe I sent Paul an email saying, it says, it was Board of, the Planning Board. And I'm like, hey, Paul.
Okay, so that passes 401. And now, up for action, we have two items. So, Walter, do you want to speak, or do you want Chris to take over?
Yeah, Chris will fill in the details for two requests for purchase orders. We're still seeking final bids on both of these items, but we're pretty confident that we're going to be able to meet at least the paving one. We have a bid that's under the requested $18,000 not to exceed, and Chris can outline what the work that's going to be done.
Okay, Chris? Oh, Chris Brown, our Public Works Foreman.
Good evening. Everybody hear me all right?
Yes.
So basically, we're looking at paving the transfer station where the community swap shop is, and basically pave where that whole area is from our cans all the way down to our battery and ACs and refrigerator units are. So it's a pretty significant amount. Price-wise, it wasn't too bad. It was in the $17,000 range that both quotes came in at. That's a full gravel, shim, compact, and pave. So I would ask the board's approval to pick a contract on it.
So, Tim,
We're all set with the grading and the water shut off, and which way's all that stuff gonna go?
What's that?
The grading, it's gonna shut off, the grading is gonna shut off, like, towards, like, the glass, I mean, it's all gonna come downhill.
It's coming downhill to where, to the left of, if you're looking at the ACs and refrigerators,
Yep.
there's a catch basin there, and then basically we're putting a culvert in from there across the road, because that's always been a low
Down
section,
by your plows.
and then that's going to go back into where the actual tie-in for the rest of the ditching is.
Good,
So,
because that got icy last winter.
yeah, that was one of the other things we're going to eliminate and alleviate while we're there.
okay, so what'd you say? You had two bids and I'm sorry, Walter, go ahead.
I just wanted to clarify just a couple of things. Number one, this is not doing anything to the existing paved area, so people don't have a different expectation. It's just paving what's currently gravel. And number two, we are hoping that we would get approval to fund this expenditure from the Transfer Station Expendable Trust Fund as part of the board's approval.
Okay, well, I'm just going to say it, because we always ask, how much is in that fund?
So I checked with Cheryl. Right now, there's about $133,000 in that fund.
So, any questions on that? It seems like
You doing
sufficient.
a saw cut, they're just gonna blend it into the old pavement?
No, it's going to be a flush saw cut, so.
Yeah.
Are you going to go like around the swap shop?
It's going to bump in there, so basically it's going to act as parking spots.
Okay.
And then we're not tying right into where the walkway is going up to it, but it's going to tie in close to it, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so there's two, you said you have two bids at this point, one under the 18K?
Yes. One bid that we have is for $17,862. We're waiting for one or two other bids in writing, so if we could approve up to $18,000, then obviously we would take the lowest qualified bid for the project and issue the
Who else you
purchase
got
order
coming?
that way.
Manchester Paving, they came in at,
Oh, they give you one?
yeah.
They're the ones that did the library, right? Manchester Paving?
Yes. Manchester Paving came in at 17,800. So,
So essentially the same.
yep.
Okay.
But we got R&D doing all the other roads and setup, so.
Yeah. You know, the one thing on the, go ahead, any other questions? No, if not, there was something about the type of mix there, Chris.
Yep.
What was that about?
They're using half-inch binder, which is base.
And then there was something about a winter or something?
Three-quarter bind, there's a bigger rock in it, and it's like a winter base. So I used it in the city of Dover before, and it's,
Oh, the winter base is better? Okay. Okay, and everybody quoted the same
Yep.
type?
Actually, both R&D and Manchester quoted a half-inch binder, but
And we want to go with three-quarter? Okay, so it's going to be slightly more then, or not?
no, I think it's actually cheaper, but.
Oh, okay. How do we want to handle this?
I think I'd like to approve the PO up to 18, and then we can, allow these guys to choose the lowest bid, I mean, effectively, unless there's a great reason to go for the not quite lowest bid.
Anybody want to comment on that approach? If not, do you want to make a motion to that effect?
Sure, I move that we approve a PO for up to $18,000 for paving at the transfer station,
Do I have a second on that?
Mr. Chairman, excuse me. And fund it from the expendable?
and fund it from the
Correct.
transfer station expendable trust fund.
Yes, thank you.
I'll second.
Okay, motion and second for the paving. Any discussion? Tim?
And once we get it, let Chris and Walter finalize it and get on, we don't have to come back to us.
That's the understanding by the motion, and that's my understanding of the motion, let me put it that way.
That's the intent.
Yeah, they'll make the selection as to who they feel is best, based on the price and the quality of the work, provided they stay under 18K. If it's over 18K,
We'll be back.
you'll be back. Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, that's 5-0. Okay, Chris, what's next?
The second one is also expenditure out of the expendable trust fund from the transfer station, and that's to furnish a recyclable oil furnace for heat. The unit will be located in the DPW garage, and basically use all the waste oil that we receive at the transfer station and keep it in-house, rather than paying a company to get rid of it.
Okay, how many quotes we got on this one?
I have two on that.
Walter?
So that, we're still, basically, we haven't got an apples-to-apples quote. One of the companies doesn't provide a 250,000 BTU unit, which is adequate
Yeah.
for the facility for heating purposes, but they have some advantages in the model that they use versus the other company, so we're still deciding which direction to go, but in any case, because of the fact that when the original quote that we received only provided for a smaller tank, we'd like to go with a 500-gallon tank. And so When we originally got the quote for that, it was just under 12,000. The new quote that you have, obviously, is, just under 13,000 because of the upgrade of that tank to 500 gallons. So we would like to, request approval for up to $14,000, Chris, do you think?
Yeah.
To go with the bigger tank for storage purposes.
Is this a floor mount or a ceiling mount?
This is a complete floor unit, so basically it's the tank with stands, and the unit will be above it.
Nottingham has one of them.
You should have a cut sheet in your packet, I believe.
Yeah.
I have the bill, like,
Yeah, get the bid.
Yeah, I have the bid too. I don't,
So which company are we going with? The one we have? I mean, I only got one, unless one came in late today and I
I
didn't
sent you
see
one
it.
today, as I noted this morning, from Arrow Equipment.
when you're using that, I just got home at 5:15, so I didn't see that one.
Arrow?
I believe it was included with,
yeah, it was,
The,
with the agenda, yeah.
Jim, you want to see it?
No, I probably got it here. I'll just pull it back up.
It was included with your,
In the agenda?
how was it here?
Well, anyway, I'm asking because the first one you sent actually has a 500-gallon tank listed in it.
yes,
Or
but it
the
was,
12
but it was
something.
$13,000, and the agenda calls for up to $12,000, which was produced prior to us getting the updated.
Okay, I get it.
That's a cut sheet on one of the providers, and this is the one on the other.
Chris, I have a question for you, not regarding this. So these are two really great improvements for the transfer station. Didn't say they're very dumb. That's what I call it at my house. So will there be more things you think that we're going to need to, I know we upgraded the container, right? One of the containers. So how is everything else looking? I mean, I know we still have a lot of work there.
Yep, so basically, I have some future plans that I have coming up that we probably brought up in the beginning of next year, and that's going to actually upgrade the facility itself. So there'll be plenty of money left over after, even the expenditures of the paving and
Yeah.
the furnace, that we should have enough to do it, so,
Well, the fund is there, so we can, help improve it, so
yep.
spending it wisely is fine, yeah.
So what's the strategy on this one, Walter? Same type of thing for up to 14K? Is that what you're looking for? And then you'll make the decision as to the best vendor and price and quality?
Is that the way you want to go, or?
I mean, it's totally up to the Board of Selectmen, but I mean, the two estimates came in, like Walter said, they're not apples for apples. One's a 250,000 BTU, the other one's a 350,000 BTU. So obviously, sometimes bigger is better, but in circumstance,
Just like forced hot air, right, blows?
yep,
So you have to leave your door open in your office?
we'd have to leave both of them open. Actually, we should be able to service both and not have to actually shut off the mini split and not use that, and so. The only advantage to the Aero one is it has a built-in compressor on the unit itself, where if we go with the clean burn unit, basically we'd be running an air line from our compressor that we have at the shop over to the unit. So, there's downfalls and there's pros about it, so.
Do we want to, I don't know if we want to get into that. Let's let them figure it out. Let's just figure out how much we want
I
to
would-
make the maximum.
Do you have a little, like, transfer diaphragm pump? I mean, I know, just going back to my experience with these things,
No, we don't have one.
town of Nottingham has one, like, obviously,
Oh,
some...
to
we used
get
go
into
around
the
and
tank?
Pick it up, like the garage. I mean, we have 2 or 3 barrels in our shop, but sometimes Nottingham used to come up with their little pump and suck it out of our barrels, just something, find out the cost of that, so you might need one.
So the diaphragm pump I'm looking at, they're right around $400.
So do we go 14,500? And I'd like to see one, because you're gonna need it eventually, either
To be able
to
to,
pump out, if he gets all gallon jugs from the transfer station, he dumps them in a big 55-gallon drum,
yeah,
put it in there one day, pump it in the big tank.
Yeah.
I think another $500 added on is,
but less chance of spilling it and less chance of having problems. You're right about that.
How much do we actually get in the transfer station? How many gallons of waste oil, do you
Oh,
think?
my lord.
That's a lot.
I wouldn't even want to, usually we have about 3 pump outs a year of our 750-gallon tank.
Okay.
Whoa, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
so we didn't know either.
And we're paying Clean Harbors or
So
whomever.
we haven't gotten
every
an
time we do
invoice
that.
from Clean Harbors because so the company we used to use, basically they would charge us a certain fee, and then another company would charge us the actual disposal of it.
Windward from the greenhouse company? Windward come in?
No, they're out of business now.
Bought
So,
it?
yeah, Clean Harbors bought them all. So, we're waiting on our first invoice from Clean Harbors to come in and for them to actually come and pump our tank. So, we don't know what it's going to be this time, because it's a brand-new company, and we've never had them before, so.
So I'll say, for me, I have no concerns about letting
I
Mr.
think
Brown
so
make the
with
choice that fits his needs.
Yeah.
For me, the only question is, timing of it. I still worry about that retaining wall a little bit down there. If that sucker lets go, we're going to need every penny in that fund to fix it, so.
Yeah, so the preliminary estimates came back on that almost 11,000
Oh, really?
to redo
Okay.
the wall, yep.
Perfect.
So-
Then I got no concerns.
Is that on your agenda soon then?
That's on my agenda.
I would just like to say that if we're going to purchase something like this, I don't want to just buy it for what we need for now, but this is a lot of money. What are we going to need for, in the future too, so.
So just for clarification, for everyone else to know, me too, how are you presently heating now?
We're heating with propane.
Okay, so that's going to go away.
In a sense, that would be 100%, that would be my backup unit.
Right, so we'll save there. What do we charge for people to drop the oil off?
There's no charge on it.
Okay, there's no charge.
Yep.
Is that just normal? Or is it something we could do a minimal charge to?
No, that's basically, every transfer station's about the same. It's
Okay,
kind of a service we provide for the community.
okay,
So, unless it's, some of the household hazardous waste and stuff that comes in, oil-based paints, things like that. We have 2 annual events, the Household Hazardous Waste Day, that they can actually bring their product to Rochester and dispose of it. But oil, we've always taken.
okay. So, you think we're going to save in the long run going this way versus what we've been doing?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Right.
That's-
Over time, if you got to factor in the capital cost, it's going to take a while to recoup $15,000.
Right, exactly,
in
but we're
capital.
making a wise choice in removing one and using this instead.
Yep.
That's kind of what I want to get across. It's not like we're just adding to something.
Right.
To
No,
spend
it's-
money to spend money. No, we're being wise in what we're doing, and we collect the oil anyway, so we might as well use it
Yep.
efficiently.
Versus paying to get rid of it.
Right, instead of paying to get rid of it, exactly.
And then hauling it somewhere else. And so, it's a fairly green choice, too.
Right.
Fossil fuel is fossil fuel, but at least we're not driving it somewhere to then burn it, so.
Right.
Yeah, so we save the disposal fee and we save the propane
Yep.
costs. Okay, both of those could be fairly significant.
Correct.
Yeah, because even a house, a couple $1,000, $3,000 for propane is nothing. And that's probably not as well insulated.
No, it definitely isn't.
Right.
Okay, so how do we want to handle it? Tim, you mentioned that you wanted a pump or
I'd like
something.
to make a motion, you said it was like 13?
No, I think they said 14.
14, I'd like to put it to 15, so we can get that pump and
Make sure we can handle it and stuff.
15,000 of the PO, and these 2 gentlemen take care of the rest.
Okay, is everybody comfortable with that?
Paid out of the expendable trust fund.
Yes, thank you, yep.
Okay.
Same fund as the pavement, yep.
Okay, do we have a second to that motion?
Second.
And further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Terrific, thank you. Okay, Chris, I thought I saw something later for you, was there? No.
It should be good. That's why I put them up front.
Okay, very good. Thank you for doing that. That makes it easier on me. Okay, then we're going to move on to the consent agenda. And just to remind folks how we handle that, Walter's going to read it off. If there's anything that folks feel that we need to vote on separately, I'll ask you if you want to do so, and then we'll vote on what remains. So, Walter?
Okay, so the consent agenda for August 10th, 2021 includes an accounts payable manifest dated August 4th, 2021, batch number 17779, for $154,829.73. Some notable expenses in this particular total is a payment to Health Trust for employee health insurance in the amount of $29,285. A payment to Irving Oil, which is a combination of payments for $5,000, and a payment to Premier Park and Play LLC for $86,748, and our typical cost to Waste Management for our trash disposal of $4,114, and noting that the payment to Premier Park is a payment that will be reimbursed under the grant that was received for the construction of the new playground. So that's the items of note for the AP manifest of August 4th. Also on the consent agenda is the payroll manifest dated August 11th, 2021, batch number 17802, for $77,886.90 for salaries. Other items also is an intent to cut from Jeffrey Ames, a land use change tax for Casey Burrington, and a proration application for property assessments for Daniel McNally. And that is all on our consent agenda for this evening.
Okay, does anybody want to take anything off the consent agenda? No? If not, then how about a motion to approve the consent agenda as read?
So moved.
Second.
Second, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please.
Aye.
All right?
Aye.
Thank you. So that's a 5-0. Okay, Walter, how about your report, please?
Sure. So, Town Administrator's Report for August 10th, 2021. Staffing update. With the exception of the PD, I'm pleased to report that we have all positions filled at this moment.
Say that again, please, Walter.
I said, at this time, we have all positions filled except the PD positions for town staff.
That includes the transfer station?
Yes. Yep.
Woo-hoo!
Just hired one last.
Yeah, that's
That's
true.
why he's smiling.
Yeah, Chris is back in the DPW business.
That's good news, thank you.
Did you have, stick around, please, I'm sorry. If we can, jump down to the last item, I do have one other thing that Chris could provide input on, but has to do with the extension of the excavator lease.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, right, I thought there was something else.
Yep, you're right. So, as you know, we lost several days because of the crew having to cover the transfer station when all our staff was out. So Chris is requesting approval to extend the excavator lease for an additional month at the same rate of $3,000 versus having it for an extra week, which would be this week here, for $1,400 for the week. This is going to allow for the remaining of the summer work to be completed sooner, and the additional month costs will come from the operating budget highway maintenance line item. And so hopefully you would support the concept now that they're able to spend all their working time on DPW projects, and hopefully the rain has subsided, or at least somewhat, so that work can
jinx us.
continue. So exactly. So I don't know if you have anything else to add, Chris.
No, that's basically about it. So basically, we're almost done with Bow Street anyways, so we can move on to like 9 other locations I have in town that need to be heavily ditched and taken care of that are falling behind. So with the board's approval, it would definitely help me.
Questions?
I'll make the motion, but he's gonna start out back here and figure out this drainage before we get any further.
That's one of my other areas.
Having it for a month, and you can get all the other jobs that you
Yep.
hadn't gotten done.
I get probably about 3 more days left on Bow Street, and then we're picking around town, so.
I'm sure you'll probably find more
Subject
as
to
you're
weather and
driving.
manpower.
So
Want a motion or okay, or it's underneath?
well, hold off a second on the motion, because I have a question for Walter. Is this not within your purview?
No, I'm at $2,500 of my purview unless you want to extend it.
Okay, let's put that on the list for discussion a little bit later. Okay, so a motion is appropriate. So we have a motion on the table to extend the lease,
Second?
and we have a second discussion.
It makes sense to me. I mean, it's the
We've made
savings, 3 extra weeks for,
Right.
We made good progress,
Cleaning the
too.
trees, the culverts, the stuff to playground.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of work to be done.
Let's get it done.
Tractor rides, whatever.
Okay.
So, one
Jim,
question,
go
do you
ahead.
see any other extension coming, maybe? Or you think you can really get it done in this?
No, I definitely, in the next 3 weeks, can pretty much sum up everything that I can get done with that, and then anything after that, we can take care with our town backhoe.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Terrific. Thank you. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
I think that was the only thing I had for...
Now can you go home?
Well, there's hazardous trees.
Easton's okay with that, keeping, I mean, obviously they don't care.
He said possession was 9/10 of the
That's
law.
a really good deal, though.
We've had that too, we need it for 3 days, and like,
Yeah.
2 months later, we still have it. Like, oh, you guys still want this?
Right, yeah,
They'd bill us eventually.
yeah.
But, no, they were kind enough to hold off until tonight to, and
Take it.
they would just charge us the weekly rate if the board decided no, so.
Tell them you need a trailer.
No, and any work we can do in-house saves so much money, so thank you. And to your crew as well.
So moving on, back to item number 2, building repairs and painting is the ongoing search for a commercial painter for the community center and the library. That'll hopefully be gone someday soon. The Harvey Lake Dam update, research on the dam ownership is moving forward. The survey has been out in the field, doing some of the field work, trying to identify where property lines are and so forth, relationship to the dam, to determine if it's in fact on private property and under someone else's responsibility versus the town. So hopefully that'll give us a report here prior to or about the time for the next board meeting. So, updating on the town website, all the comments that were forwarded from staff and board members have been incorporated into one report sent off to the designer, and he is hoping to have as many of the recommendations incorporated into the design. I believe by the end of this week, we'll get it back. So, again, we'll push that out just as soon as we can, but I'm pretty confident that we're going to be able to, have a live version, certainly prior to the end of the month, if not sooner, so,
Oh, really?
yeah. Yep.
That's been a long time in coming. This is great.
So we're continuing to work on the Route 4 and Bow Street drainage issue. That's continues to be on our radar. I've had another conversation with the state. I believe Mrs. Lord has also had a conversation with the state as well, so hopefully we can make some progress on that. The water damage that took place in the lower level is still being finished. The sheetrock's been replaced and taped and mudded and primed, and I'm still waiting for proposals for looking at perhaps replacing the carpet that was down there with just tile, just in the event that something like this might happen again. So that's one of the options that we're looking at. It's really just as
Tie on a couple scatter rugs or something.
Yeah.
yeah.
Keep the girls warm.
Yeah, I talked to both of them, and we talked about a significant rubber mat, because I know how hard concrete
Rubber
can be
mats
on you. Yes, so, and they're amenable to going that route, as long as we can come up with something that will help them in terms of cushioning the
Oh, no, definite.
work area, so.
Yeah, otherwise it'd be rough.
So we're working on that. The town facilities lighting upgrade, I guess it's been going on since 2019. I actually met with a representative from Eversource today. And it's a little confusing. Obviously, they've been impacted by the cost of materials, especially with those manufactured overseas. And so as part of the formula in terms of the rate of return on the investment, it's going the other direction for us. And so there's probably some buildings that may not be able to be addressed under the program as was originally discussed. And so, and it didn't appear that they had the latest information in terms of our usage as well from a lighting standpoint of view. So we shipping off a number of electric bills for this building, and hopefully we'll get an update from them in terms of what can be done under their program versus, something that just may not be worthwhile investment for replacing a fixture that's, like at the salt shed, for instance, which is only utilized during the winter months and only when somebody's in the shed, so to speak. Those probably won't, qualify for any particular part of the program that will give us any dollars back. So we may not get a reasonable return on an investment to replace those. So, the good news is we finally had our first sit-down after I think I started back in January trying to get a meeting with them. So we're moving forward, and they promised that they're going to continue to work through us, with us in order to get this program at least to the point where we can make a decision whether we're in or out, or, what's going to be the benefit for the town in terms of the investment. So
Good.
So that's in process. So discussions with the emergency management director about the emergency shelter, which is the Northwood Elementary School, and the fact that there's no existing, as far as anybody knows, memorandum of understanding as far as use of the facility in the event of an emergency, which is always good to have. So that way there, no matter who's here, when something happens, that there's a set of guidelines about how the facility can be used, what areas can be accessed, which areas can't, that type of thing. So the goal is to put together the heads of the EMD and the school and the SAU representatives and the town to work out an MOU for using this facility as an emergency shelter. And then the other thing to be addressed is that there's not a backup generator at the facility, so that's one thing that obviously would be a great benefit for an emergency shelter, because a lot of times they have power outages that occur during emergencies. So that would be something that we would talk about, either cost sharing or perhaps obviously getting grant funding for something like that. So that discussion will be taking place, I believe. We're meeting not next week, but the following week, to get that discussion going.
Excuse me, Walter, is Matt involved in that, or?
He is not at this time, but he's welcome if he needs.
Well, when you said SAU representatives, so you mean representatives?
From the SAU.
Okay, I'm sorry. So we don't need then, in your mind, any board representation from the school board or from the
You'll hear from the
select
other
board?
side of the dinner table.
Well, I was just going to say, can't Matt and Jen just?
I'm sure we'll enter that discussion when it gets to brass tacks and we start talking about spending money. But I think for now, it's,
You're trying to work out.
I think the worker bees need to put the pieces together, and then both the school board and the select board obviously would need to have a meeting of the minds about the terms of the MOU, plus, how we would pursue a generator. But now it's really more about, getting the parameters laid out and that type of thing. But more than happy to send you an invite if you want when the meeting is.
I don't need to be there quite yet unless you think I'm useful. What I'm happy to do in the meantime, if you find like Homeland Security grants or FEMA grants or anything like that you want me to pour through, I'm happy to do some of that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Beth had a question.
I did. Just curious, I know that the town owns Northwood School, but where like Co-Brown has a bigger gymnasium and they have showers and stuff, would that be a better option for us? Because there's no shower facility at the elementary school. Just curious.
That's probably going to be a topic of
Okay.
discussion. I'm not familiar with what that relationship is between the town and Co-Brown, but maybe Bob has
I say, yeah.
more information on
Yeah,
that.
Bob Young probably does.
Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of leave that up to him to lead that discussion in that particular direction.
Yeah, but that's a good point. I remember when we had that really long power outage, I think it was 2008.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah,
we were
yes.
driving into UNH to take showers.
Showering at work, yeah.
So that's a good point.
The perks, like at the elementary school, the cafeteria is in the same building. So
Right.
that- Versus Co-Brown, the caf is across the street.
Right.
So I don't know if it was a matter of days, like, because I remember I was home with 3 young kids with no heat.
Right.
And we all had slumber parties in my bed. And that was days of being cold, so I can imagine, like, elderly would need to be warm and facilities, you know,
Yeah.
so,
Something else transfer
yeah.
Yeah, so,
So
okay,
just,
so
I mean, just,
that's a good point, though, because short-term versus long-term,
right.
we need to think
It
about
it
that.
was like a week, I
Yeah.
They
remember.
already have a big generator, so we're one step ahead
Yeah.
on this side of the road.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, well, we
Thank
can
you.
add that into the consideration then.
So the next item has to do with the fire truck tanker financing. So as it was approved in 2020, the lease purchase financing was approved in the amount of $251,230 for a 5-year term. So we're currently been researching financing options, and one of my colleagues alerted me to the fact that Franklin Savings Bank has an excellent program for lease purchasing for municipal equipment. And so at this point in time, I believe that they're going to be able to give us a more competitive rate than any of the other options that are available to us. So because we're expecting delivery by the end of August for the new truck, I would like to get the board's approval to go forward and secure the financing for that purchase.
Questions on that? Beth?
What would the savings be? Any idea?
So I'm waiting for the final numbers, they had to submit some paperwork and so forth. We have a quote of 2.58% from one of the leasing companies we've used in the past, and they felt that their rate could probably be right around the 2%
Oh, okay.
rate.
Whoa.
So I don't have that in writing yet. The person I've been dealing with went on vacation last week. The person that was authorized to give the information was on vacation. So I'm struggling to get the final number, but certainly if it's not as attractive as what we're currently quoted by the other company, we would shift gears and go with somebody else. But I'm under the understanding on the initial representation that it would be closer to 2% to 2.5%.
You want a motion, a thumbs up, or?
Yeah, let's hold
A
on a
motion
second.
would be good to go ahead and just prepare that financing.
I want to just double check though, Walter, what was the interest rate we assumed when we figured out the leasing payments? Can you?
3%, I think.
I was just going to say, I thought we were even more than that,
Right.
so relative to what we
That's a
told.
huge savings of this
Yeah,
price tag, yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
I mean, we still have to pay the principal part, but the
Right,
interest,
but still, yeah, that's saving money.
yeah, that's a huge savings.
Yeah, and the way that the warrant article was structured basically allowed us to have the down payment, and then we appropriated the first year's payment in 2021, so we can actually take the option where we actually pay in advance on the annual payment versus in arrears, which saves us even more money.
Oh, good.
So,
Keep that money, but put a little bit more chunk in
Yeah.
each one, yeah?
right.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, just one, is the existing bank or whatever we're financing through willing to drop it down too, if they know we're going to change?
I haven't approached them on that because I don't know for sure what that rate's going to be.
Okay.
But that's,
Oh, you're waiting.
yeah, I certainly
Give them a chance
let them
to,
know.
Maybe they'll match it.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Good point. Okay,
Pretty significant amount if it actually comes in the 2% range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good,
Right.
yes.
But
Well, then, Jim's question may alter how we make the motion, because your motion says specifically for Franklin Savings. Should we be just generic?
Yeah, it doesn't, I guess it doesn't matter specifically whether it's Franklin Savings or other.
To finance with the lowest interest rate.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, at the best rate for the town.
Just
Yeah.
knowledge, yeah.
Okay, so does
I
somebody,
had- Again, when I prepared the report, I anticipated having the number,
Right.
Yeah.
but
that's okay.
didn't happen.
Okay, so
Checking.
does somebody want to make that motion, making it generic, please? It's under required action, or action required.
So I'll move to empower Walter to secure lease purchase financing for the new fire department tanker truck in the amount of $251,230 for 5 years, with an annual non-appropriation clause from whatever institution provides the lowest rate, and to authorize the town administrator to sign all necessary documents.
You have a second?
Second?
Okay, discussion. Okay, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. You okay with that, Walter?
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, good.
And under disease hazardous trees, it was suggested at a recent Budget Committee meeting that the town inventory and begin removal of disease hazardous trees from the town's rights of way. So I was going to be looking into options that might be available to assist us with that project, as this is just going to be an ongoing challenge for us between that and invasive species. And hopefully perhaps reach out to the Cooperative Extension to see if they could assist us with at least getting an inventory, and so we can start looking from a budget standpoint of view what we're going to have to invest every year, not only on the roads that we're going to be rebuilding, but on the roads that are in the right-of-way that could obviously come down and take out power lines and that type of thing, so.
Have they been out
just to-
back yet? The arbor
just-
care?
What's that?
Have the bad trees been cut out back yet? No?
No, not yet. I haven't seen them yet.
Yeah, we haven't pulled the trigger on that yet.
Yeah,
I'm just waiting on them, really.
Yeah. So that's just an FYI, and, yeah, obviously, any resources that anybody can recommend, certainly, hopefully, I haven't reached out to the Cooperative Extension yet, but hopefully that'd be a project they might have some interest in some way, shape, or form.
Questions? Walter, I have one. Does this need to in any way be coordinated with the road plan so that if we have to take down trees as part of the road work, we know these are coming up?
Well, actually, it will be. I mean, it will, as I mentioned, we'll be looking at, as we go forward, when we get the road plan about where we're going in the next couple of years, we'll be looking to obviously take out, whatever hazardous trees that are along
For
the
that
road.
particular segment of work?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, then, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that would make the most sense.
Okay.
One question then.
Yeah, go ahead, Doc.
So I know that we have roads being paved this year. Are any of those trees, ash trees, that,
Yep.
so should we be taking those ones down?
So on Bow Street alone, I took out 17 diseased ash trees already.
I was going to say, Bo's got a lot of
Yep.
blonding on those trees.
So those I did in-house with the DPW, so.
Okay. So I know we will be planning for next year's roads to be paved soon, so maybe we can get those on the
Grants
list.
out there or funding to get those? Not yet? I thought no, we were supposed to put some money into it for perp, right? Or
Right.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is, I think $5,000 was put in to start that fund, but
didn't
obviously,
get
as you know,
something to
that'll take care of about 5 trees,
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
depending on where they are, so.
as we get our department going.
Well, ultimately, though, can some of that be considered, especially if it's along the roads, infrastructure, for the American Recovery Act?
I mean, certainly if it's part of the reconstruction,
Out of the ditch, maybe?
Yeah, if
part
it's
of the
like
process, then
pre-paving.
certainly,
Yeah.
and it's within the right-of-way. The other thing, of course, is, I'm not sure, it'd be interesting to find out what the plan is by the power company, because obviously they have the bigger interest than anybody, in terms of where power lines could be
Right.
Impacted.
A few years ago, they came through town, they took a lot of trees down, which saved us a lot of money, so.
Yeah, and that's the thing, we don't want to be ahead of them, we want to be behind them.
Right.
Oh,
To get the
right.
ones that they didn't do, and so, that's
Yeah.
something
Okay.
that, we can talk and coordinate with them. Hopefully, I don't know, maybe they won't tip their card, they'd be like us, there'd be a little challenge here. Well, you do your work and we'll do ours.
Yeah.
I think the hard part is that, as part of that sort of survey of all the right-of-ways, like, we should just be marking effectively every ash tree in the right-of-way, because they're all
A
going.
matter of time, yeah.
Yeah,
Just a matter of time, yeah.
which is scary, it's awful, but it's the direction it's moving.
I don't care if it's this big or even that big. I've seen dead ones,
Get some pretty ribbons and tie a nice bow.
It's like 411.
Okay.
Only,
I did want to mention just one other thing, kind of along the same line. Chris did inquire about treating, Japanese knotweed along the right-of-way as well. And the scope of the work that was quoted included a site inventory, Division of Pest Control permitting, herbicide application, and the New Hampshire Division of Pesticide Control reporting. And Chris had identified, looks like 6 different locations on 6 different roads. And the quote was $6,095 for that scope of work. So obviously, looking towards budget and looking towards,
not to get rid of forever, or just
to
clean it up?
maintain
Well,
No, that's, basically, it's a full eradication.
Okay.
It's a multi-year plan that he wrote up for it, so.
Where are you? 6 places?
Basically, starting on town facility-wise, like behind the fire station where all the ditching was done and dumped over the bank. So starting there, Yield Canterbury Road, Old Turnpike Road, Old Canterbury Road, all the way down to Church Street, Bow Street, Ridge Road. You're talking, it's invasive species that's pretty rampant right now.
Yeah, there's a patch on 202A that's making its way towards the road.
it's not on the list, I'm sorry. I don't believe that's a town road.
There is, just to put it in your head, when we found one little patch that we were alerted to by conservation up near the stump dump up at the fields.
Oh, yeah.
So just as that gets pushed further back, just being careful that we're not just mowing it and spreading it when we start working that way.
Is there anything we can do this year, or do you think we should wait and put it in like the warrant article to add to the terrestrial species control?
And I think that has to be amended too, because I think that was quite specific from what I read it to the emerald ash borer.
It wasn't in the language of the warrant article.
It was in the discussion of the approval at the deliberative session, according to the minutes.
I'll have to pull them up, double check, yeah.
Yeah, to tell you the truth, I sent a note to Tom Chase, who was doing a lot of that discussion, and he didn't seem to have a problem with us including it, but if the discussion is different, then
Make sure it's,
let's just make sure it's right and
Yeah.
get it done. So that's a multi-year thing, so maybe we put,
The estimate that I have, that was, I think, a 2 or 3 year, I believe.
so maybe we have to put
It
in,
was 6,000 per year?
No, I believe it was the whole sum would to
Okay.
basically take care of it for the 2 years,
Okay.
for the full eradication.
so, okay, so we'll have to think when it comes to budget time then, how much to put in, and let's move this
I mean, it's
forward.
not that much, really. I mean, if it,
If it
if it
clears
gets
up the
it, yeah,
problem,
yeah.
yeah. Tim?
one more question on that. Obviously, before they start roadside mowing, are you gonna mark it, do a drive-by, or put some,
So-
make sure they know where
The company that actually was awarded the contract for roadside mowing is actually supposed to meet with me, and we're supposed to ride every road first. And those areas that are, in bloom with Japanese knotweed will be highlighted. I have been talking to a few people and stuff. There are things as a highway department we can do to at least cut it, and then basically leave it in place, let it dry, and then it can be cleaned up.
in the state,
So-
the old sickle barn.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I just wanna make sure that the roadside guys, they're
We don't make it worse. Yeah.
Right.
I went and bought one for the tractor.
Splattered out across the whole town.
Right, so that was one of the biggest things. They didn't want it ground. It had to be flush cut.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, good. So that's something to think about in preparation for the budget.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the only other thing I want to mention, just the upcoming meeting schedule. Next meeting, August 24th, and September meetings, the 14th and the 28th.
Yep,
Thank you.
okay.
And that's all.
Okay, Walter, we're making some real progress. Thank you. Okay, we have some public hearings coming up, but that's not till 7 and 7:15. So why don't we see if we can't do the town-owned property sale? You ready for that, Walter?
Sure.
Go ahead.
So, last week, Hal and I actually met with the representative from the New Hampshire Tax Deed and Property Auctions, which is the company I mentioned last meeting or the meeting before. And Rick Sagar, who is actually an attorney, New Hampshire attorney, has a law office in Ossipee, does this as a part of his law practice, where he actually he's a licensed auctioneer as well, and his only auctions he does is tax deeded property auctions, and he's provided us with references and so forth of different towns. Most recently, he did the town of Barrington, and a couple of the other towns I've talked to really spoke highly, because Rick, unlike a regular auctioneer, is kind of one-stop shopping, where part of his service includes doing the legal work in order to get the property transferred after the auction's completed. So we met with him for about an hour, and he talked about his recommendations. Obviously, having good property information, which we've gathered, I should say Carol has spent a significant amount of time gathering. So we now have, not all the information we need for each property, but a significant amount. We talked about what the time frame would be. He said that more than likely we would be looking at the fall, because he would really need about 45 days for good advertising to get a good turnout and so forth. He would expect that we would probably have the auction at a venue larger than Town Hall, so that would probably involve the school, hopefully maybe the cafeteria, because he would expect for the auctions that he's seen recently that there's, anywhere between 40 and 80 people and anxiously ready to buy New Hampshire real estate. So certainly I felt comfortable with Rick, and I think Hal did as well, as far as being able to secure somebody so the planning process can begin. We talked about a tentative date of October 16th to hold the auction, and that is available on his calendar and gets us through, basically Columbus Day and so forth, so we don't have to be bumping into significant traffic and that type of thing, so that people aren't able to attend. So at this point, as we broke out in the numerous spreadsheets that we have, I sent you the primary list, which is the properties that we would sell at the public auction sale on the 16th of October. And then there was also properties that were recommended for the abutter sale, which we can either do in-house or we can do with Rick. Now, the good news is there's no cost for Rick's services. The buyer bears all the cost. He's paid via a buyer's premium, 10% buyer's premium, so the buyer pays, the price of the property plus 10%, which covers his cost. He includes with his services preparing the deeds, handling the closings, recording the deeds, and so forth. So there's no cost to the town unless there's some extenuating legal work that has to be done on a particular property or
That's 10%
something.
of every single place, or 10% over the big ball at the end?
Well, he gets a 10% on every sale, so, yeah, it basically
Yes.
amounts to the same. But,
So some he's going to lose money on, because if the son sells for $1,000 because it's, just not a
Yeah.
desirable property, he's probably going to lose money on creating the deed and recording it and stuff. But on something that sells for $20,000, yeah, okay, now he's making some money. so.
40 or whatever, yeah. So it's kind of over the whole scope of the
So overall.
the
he
number of
should get-
properties and so forth, so. As I said, we've tried to look at some of the different properties, certain restrictions obviously should be considered for a number of the properties, which include, the ones that have uninhabitable buildings on them, for instance, there should be a stipulation that they be raised within a certain amount of time. Certain ones, obviously, that are unbuildable or so small that they couldn't, support a septic and well and so forth, should be merged with abutting properties and so forth. So I think we can plug in all those conditions and make those conditions of the sale so that we don't just, have the kind of the Wild Wild West where people just bid to purchase them and then, come after the town because they can't do anything with them, that type of thing. So, so the question tonight to discuss and decide on is, number one, do we want to ask Rick to prepare a contract for the town to enter into for him to provide this auction service? And number two, whether or not we want to have him handle all the properties, including the abutter properties, or do we want to handle the abutter properties in-house and be able to deal with those now versus having to wait until October?
How do you feel about that?
Well, as you look on the list, there's
Johnson,
not
real
that
estate
many. What's that?
Mr. Johnson, real estate?
Yeah, my former life. I think it can be easily managed because as you look at the list, there's probably, a dozen properties on our list that we recommend should be sold to abutters versus as individual properties. So that way there we can, get them merged or merged together to create a more substantial lot that would be more conforming versus what's out there existing today. But obviously, that means we have to, do the mailings and so forth. We would have the sealed bid sale, wouldn't be an auction, people would submit bids. And we would have to manage that piece and then have a public bid opening and have the board award the bids as part of that process.
That's something you and Carol can handle,
Well, we can still, pay on a per diem basis or per item basis the lawyer that we would use otherwise to get the deeds and stuff done. If we think that's the easiest way, but
Yeah, and we might be able to do kind of a hybrid, with him, where perhaps they would do, some of the work versus having to do it all in-house.
it's covering him and, Carol's shoulders, so I'd take his recommendation, if he wants to do it, if he wants to put it to the auctioneer guy, whatever, like I said.
Well, the advantage I see of having him do it and do it now as opposed to at the auction is we can get it taken care of, and maybe, some of the ones that don't go to abutters, maybe
back in, yeah.
go back in. And I guess the other thing I just mentioned about the auctioneer, he's recommending we push it out more towards October so that it gives him time to advertise, gives him time to contact abutters. He has a list of potential buyers, and he'll send a list out to all, he'll send invitations to all of them. The guy, if you look on his website, he's done quite a few of these, and when we sat with him, he's very knowledgeable, gave us some advice in terms of how to handle some stuff, and that's obviously from all the town's experience that he had. I think he's quite good. So, Beth, yeah, I'm sorry, so Beth.
My only question is, he's offering the service free for us. We're not spending any money, the buyers are. If we're doing it in-house, we're taking Carol and you and whoever else away from the tasks that they typically are doing. So that is going to cost us.
It's an opportunity cost loss.
So, is it worth it? Because We have a lot to do as it is. I mean,
Yeah.
I see your
Let's-
to-do
let's-
list. you know?
Let's be clear. I mean, I think there's a general consensus and agreement that the ones that Walter listed for auction, we're going to auction.
Yes.
So then it's a question of what do we do with the ones where Walter's recommending we handle them a little bit differently, the abutters. And Walter, would you consider having him handle everything, but instead of a auction process, have him handle the bid process?
Yeah, we can have that conversation with them, and if that's...
Is that what you were referring to?
I
I
don't want to
appreciate
give
that.
you more work you already have, and Carol already has,
If he's comfortable, yes, if not, fine.
Right.
That's
Like,
it.
if you're saying, okay, this is going to be like 5 hours worth of work, or it's going to be 50 hours worth of work, that's the difference,
A lot of the work is done, the upfront work and so forth, so it's really just, Carol can easily create the abutters list. We send out the letters, we, have a due date for bids, and,
It's before budget season.
yeah, well, we would get on it right away.
Yeah. I mean, if you're
It's before his
comfortable with it.
vacation,
that's-
too.
Yeah, exactly.
Talk to the guy, and it's all, like I said, it's on your shoulders. I mean, if,
Work it out.
Okay, yeah.
I was just saying, realistically, I mean, if I were in his position, meaning the auctioneer and the lawyer, and I looked at this list, he's not going to make money on the ones that
Well,
are
that's-
on that
we-
abutter
we
list.
may have to
I'd
pay.
pass personally, so
Right.
I think we may be put in a position where we
wanna-
have to do these in-house, so.
Yeah, well, we could try, and...
We can try.
And Walter's...
We don't want to insult him.
exactly. I don't want him to say, real, this is what you're going to give me, I'm not coming back in October, so.
Yeah.
We make $42.
Yeah, we didn't keep all the good stuff for us.
Okay, so how do we want to, what kind of motion would...
Just a motion.
I got a question.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jim.
You sat with them, so what's your feeling on it? What's your opinion? You were in the meeting.
Well, first off, the guy is good. He just comes across as incredibly, I mean, I just, Rick Sager, Sager, as,
Sager.
like, sort of like Jim Sager. Who's the musician? But you go on his website, he's listed all the towns that he's done, you listen to him, and we talked about several of them, and like I say, he knows the ins and outs. He had suggestions. He said, no, you better be careful about this. He even, on some things, he said, you better talk to your lawyer first in terms of some of these. I mean, he's got a lot of experience. And the thing that I really like, Jim, he will advertise, he will contact the abutters. He will do everything to make it very public, and he'll send out emails to everybody. I think we'll get, who knows what the market is at the time we go for sale, but he'll get us, I believe, the top dollar. Now that said, I need to put the caveat in there. Regardless of what we get for the price at the auction, we're only able to keep
Tax money.
Right.
the tax money plus his fees and any other, incremental costs. Everything above that goes to the former owner or whoever the court says it goes to. And,
Does he handle that piece too?
Yes.
yeah, and I mean, you think
Yeah, he
about it, for
handles soup to nuts.
10%,
Yeah.
So when we're sitting in the gym at Co-Brown or elementary school, is there going to be like a slideshow to show me where this property is in town? Or do you know how he goes, just any general, just all paperwork, or?
It'll all be packaged ahead of time.
Okay.
So people can write to him and,
Okay.
inquire.
And
It'll be on
they
the
can inquire, and they
website.
need,
Okay.
they need to do their due diligence right up front, and it's going to be where is, as is, no exceptions, and, no coming back, well, I didn't know this, didn't know that. You got to do your research up front.
We should
Go ahead.
adjourn to the hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry, thank
Do
you.
we need to get, like, our lawyer involved in any of this deed stuff, make sure it, I just,
We will communicate with our lawyer. They'll probably communicate together if there's any questions about certain things and so forth. But
Tell you
he's
what.
worked with our attorney.
Yeah, he knows her. Yeah. I'm going to cut off the discussion. We'll take it up, but we have the public hearings. So first off, let's go to the public hearing to accept gifts for the Newtown Playground. This is to accept gifts of fencing, playground equipment, and signage with the appropriate value of $25,000 from the Friends of Northwood Recreation for the new playground. So, Matt, do you want to speak to this or give
So
some input?
the Friends of Northwood Rec have been engaged in fundraising activities for several years with the initial intent of raising funds in order to purchase playground equipment. Once we got the Land Water Conservation Fund grant, that became less necessary, so Friends decided to make a cash contribution as matching funds for the Land Water Conservation Fund grant, but rather than buying cash, they determined that they would purchase fencing, signage, and equipment for the lower playground area where the swing set currently is by those small fields. So the grand total is going to land somewhere in the neighborhood of $25,000, not to exceed $30,000. There's really no downside to accepting those gifts as far as I can see, but that's what that is.
Questions for Matt in terms of what he presented? Okay, if not, then I'm going to open it up to the public. Would you like to speak to this?
We'll turn the microphone on for you. Just state your name and wait.
No, that's fine.
We got it for the people listening on TV, so just
You just have to push the button up on the top.
say your name, where you're from.
Thank you.
I'm Joe Pacheco from Northwood, and I think whatever we do with the playground is a great thing. And basically, 3 months is I think they're doing a great job. I was out there today.
Yes, nice.
And we just want to recognize that Joe worked real hard to get the AED in place up there at the pavilion, so thank you.
The new AED is in place as of today.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so, Matt, do you want to make the motion? Well, hold on a second, Walter, can we make the motion now, or do we have to wait till the next meeting to make the motion to accept?
You can, if there's no other testimony, you can close the public hearing and then
Okay.
entertain a motion to, accept the gift of playground equipment from the,
Okay, so I'm going to formally close the public hearing. We didn't get any emails or anything like that, I assume?
nope.
Yep, okay. So, Matt, you want to make a motion?
Sure. I'll move to accept gifts of fencing, playground equipment, and signage with the approximate value of $25,000 from the Friends of Northwood Recreation.
Do I have a second? Okay, discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Terrific. 5-0, thank you. Okay,
Now we can go back to the
now we go back to the other one for 7 minutes.
How do we take a bio break?
Yeah, that's an even better idea.
I could use one.
A recess for 7 minutes.
Paul, play the commercials.
Or sing or something, Paul.
Sing, Paul.
He's a little cartoon guy dance or something, yeah.
WB flag.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, Chris,
We're the same age, let me see, hang on.
I can read it without my glasses.
move over to the hot seat, chief.
We're the same age, but.
He's not up next, is
My eyes are bad.
he? He gonna speak to this?
Last couple of years.
No, he's going to speak on the ambulance rates.
Oh, okay. So, so he's not up immediately. Okay. I have 7:15 via my computer, so I'm going to now open up the public hearing regarding the local fiscal recovery funds, or LFRF, from the state of New Hampshire under the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, otherwise known as the ARP. There's 4 areas of funding, which includes public health / negative economic impacts, rental or utility arrangements, premium pay for frontline town employees, investments in water, sewer, clean water, and broadband projects. The public is encouraged to provide input regarding the use of these funds during the hearing. So Walter, do you want to provide any additional details or provide any information that might be important?
Bless you.
So as we've been talking over the past several months, we are expecting to receive approximately $451,000 over the next 2 years. We've applied for our share, as the board authorized at the last meeting, and haven't received it yet, but we'll be receiving the first tranche, which is approximately 50%, or $251,000, and we'll be getting the second one 1 year from now, another $250,000.
225, I think.
Excuse me, $225,000 each year.
If you can bump it up, that'd be great, but
I'm doing my best. And so, how part of this process for the public hearing is, number one, to get input from the public regarding accepting the funding and then expending it. Under this program, because we have up to 2 years from receiving each tranche, that we don't have to make an immediate decision or have it as part of our public hearing the purposes that we're going to expend the money on, just that, we are planning on spending it in accordance to the guidelines that are provided by the U.S. Treasury. So as we move forward in the process and talk to staff and obviously get additional public input, if we can, about some of the things that we might do with the funding, then at that point in time, the board can, go ahead and authorize those expenditures, providing that they qualify. And again, unlike other typical grants, where you actually spend the money and then you submit for reimbursement, this is actually coming right into our bank account and will be sitting there and can be at our available hands to expend at any time when we have a qualified purpose to spend it. So that's pretty much, where we're at as far as the process right now. This is a requirement under New Hampshire statute to have a public hearing to get input from the public about accepting it and then expending it at a later point in time.
okay. I just want to reiterate, the money does not have to be designated for specific purposes at this point, and in addition, we have time to spend it. It's not like we have to spend the 2021 stuff this year. We got 2 years, and so on for the following. So all the way up through 2024, essentially, to spend the money. So we have time to think about this and time to really put it to good use. With that said, I'm going to first open it up for the public, and we'll hear what the public has to say about accepting, in round numbers, $450,000 from the federal government. Please state your name for the record.
My name is Joe Lipschitz. I'm a resident here in Northwood. Fortunately, I moved here a couple of years ago, and it's a great little town to live in. But I believe we do need to accept those funds. We've got our emergency services due to COVID have been outstanding. but their coal mining equipment usage is probably quadruple in use because of it. Between the respiratory calls, the cardiac calls, everything else that goes along with it. The heart monitors we've got have basically over the past year and a half gotten 4 to 5 years worth of use out of them. And they're already in the older phases. All the equipment and the staffing for the fire department, the police department, the emergency services here in town, emergency preparedness, all of that, they've all been stretched to their limits. And if the federal government wants to give us money to help these departments, we need to jump on it as fast as we can. Because, federal government can change their mind in a heartbeat.
Well, once it's in our, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Once it's in our-
You're right.
Cheryl's got a pretty strong hold on those.
Yeah, but, look at the equipment usage.
Yeah.
All the departments. If I had a heart attack today, I'd want to know that the crew showing up is going to have a monitor that works. If I have a respiratory problem, I want to make sure that they're going to have oxygen. I want them to have the cardiac drugs, all the stuff that they use every day, but because of this pandemic, it's increased 4 or 5 fold.
Right.
When you look at major cities like New York, Los Angeles, Boston, they were hit just as hard as us if you look at population-wise. We've had a lot of sick people in this town. We've lost quite a few people in this town, I'm sure. But we need to make sure all our services have the equipment they need and replace the stuff that's had so much excessive use because of the pandemic. I believe that's what the money is for.
That's certainly one of them.
Yeah.
And not to have a direct conversation with you, but, also there's some infrastructure things that we can consider also as part of this.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, does the board want to add any comments or questions for Walter? Beth?
I think, I agree. I also think that the broadband projects, we had, probably 800 kids at home learning on their computer,
Right.
and, people that had to work from home. And if that happened again, I don't know, that was a big strain, so it might be something to consider. I appreciate trees being taken down too, but the bigger picture is,
Yeah.
this happens again.
The broadband in particular is one thing that keeps coming up, and, if we want to be a place where people feel comfortable working and living, you got to have the infrastructure to support that. So, good thoughts. Anybody else want to comment?
So right now, we're just voting on saying yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then we determine later
Yes, but to that point,
where it gets spent to.
we should probably put on the agenda, Walter, for like the next meeting to, think about, do we want to have listening sessions, or do we want, as a board, want to make some general proposals so people have some sense as to what kind of projects, and then get some input? So let's think about that, and then, Walter, maybe think about how we get the appropriate public input. And so let's just have that as an agenda item for an upcoming meeting, probably sooner than later. Okay, so at this point, I'm looking for a motion to
We need to close it first, don't we?
Yeah, just close the public hearing.
close it?
If there's no more
Okay, I'm
public-
closing. If there's no other comments or questions, I'm going to close the public hearing. Okay, at this point then, do I have a motion to accept and expend the funds of $451,108 from the local fiscal recovery funds from the state of New Hampshire under the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021.
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of accepting and expending the funds?
Aye.
Terrific, 5-0. Okay, thank you. Mark, if you would just bear with us for like 5 more minutes, we would like to just wrap up the town-owned property sale items. So, Walter, given what we discussed, what kind of motion would let you have the flexibility you need to move this forward decisively?
I think we need a motion to engage, with Rick Sagar, to prepare and execute the auction for the town property sale, and,
We discussed the bidding, the abutters,
yeah,
whatever you feel.
yeah, and to, authorize me to move forward with an abutter sale if I think it's something that we can handle, without any undue hardship and impact to our normal operations, and then to execute whatever agreements we might need with Attorney Sager to move forward with the auction.
Okay, are people comfortable with that approach?
Yeah, can I just confirm, you said that he was going to be contacting abutters for the auction list as well, though, right?
Yes.
Great.
Yep.
So basically, he's going to do everything.
Yes.
And if he chooses not to do a piece, we'll take that on. Like the abutter sale, is that what you're saying?
Well, that would be our choice. He'll take whatever we
Okay,
offer
so
to
he
him.
will
Yeah.
probably take that. Okay. Yeah, I'm all for letting him do it all, if he wants to do it.
I think the only question is what Walter feels the most comfortable,
Yeah.
given
Yeah.
the constraints with the
Book
butter.
him in for the auction, and however you feel about the abutters.
Okay, good,
Sounds
good.
good.
Okay, does the motion reflect what we just discussed here, Walter?
Yes.
Of course it does.
Okay,
So move.
so we had a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Okay, Walter, put this to bed.
Yes.
Can't wait.
Thank you, and thank Carol. That's
Yeah, Carol's done it.
a lot of years in the coming.
Yeah.
Carol did a lot of, we look at that detailed spreadsheet, I'm like, oh
I
my
kept going out, like A, B, B, like,
That's why I feel bad for her.
She's excellent.
she really did a good job.
She did
And
a
it's-
great job.
finally met her a couple days ago, I come in to sign, it's like,
Yeah, she's good.
it's good.
Okay, so next up is the review of the ambulance billing rates. We did get a preliminary look at that, so I'm going to just ask Mark to go over that with us and make some recommendations.
Fire chief, not Mark, the people at home.
What's his name?
Thank you. I'd like to recognize Mark Tetrault, our fire chief.
Thank you.
Thank you. No, that's right.
But before I go into the ambulance
Mark, a
billing
little
rate-
closer.
Okay, it's caught in the table, just lift it up, pull it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Chris did that.
yeah.
Give him a demerit.
Better?
A little, but try to get right into the mic.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
So, one little side comment here, and I don't know how I forgot to put it in the weekly report, but we were notified by FEMA that we're receiving a grant for $31,000 for a diesel exhaust system in the fire station.
Oh, great.
You had said we applied, but we didn't know you got it.
Yep, but I just got the
That was a while
notification
ago.
last week.
Yeah, that was a while ago, we talked about taking the old one out, moving it, okay, good.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great
So
news.
we don't have to move the old one, we can
Yep.
put a new one in, so that's good.
That's good.
So ambulance billing rates, we looked at these probably 2 years ago, and at the time we bought them, we looked at Comstar, who's our billing company, and we said, what does everyone else charge? And we adjusted our rates to about right in the middle. So we don't want to gouge people, but we don't want to cut ourselves short either. And so 2 years went by, and I think it was here, Mr. Colby mentioned, how do our rates compare to everyone else? So Comstar sent me the list of the other 52 New Hampshire communities they represent, and they're from anywhere from Colebrook to Salem. So,
Big town, small town.
yeah, yeah. And I found that we were on the low side again of billing. So I did an average of all 52 towns, and you can see that at the top of the spreadsheet there. We have a low average, average, and high average. So I recommended that we adjust our rates to the average, or just slightly above the average. So our mileage rate is currently $19 an hour. I recommend we go to 22 an hour, a mile. I recommend we go to $22 a mile. Our basic life support rate is $850, and I recommend we go to $935. Our ALS1 rate is $1,250, and I recommend we go to $1,500. And our ALS2 rate, Advanced Life Support 2, is currently $1,925, and I recommend we go to $2,130. And that, again, brings us right about at the average.
Questions? Beth?
These rates are all, like, insurance would pay all these if you had insurance, right? Pretty close to it?
Sometimes. They generally look at your rate, and they pay a percentage. So the higher our rates, the higher the more cash we get. We don't, whatever Medicare rates are, that's what we get. So those are, in the neighborhood of $500 a ride. And we have a lot of those. We do a lot of transport, so it adds up after a while. But most of the insurance companies will pay close to what our billing rate is.
Other questions?
So with increasing the rates and stuff, I mean, you two still have like the right stuff off, you're not going to collect, you're still, that's all still the same ball game, right?
Yes.
Okay, no.
Yep.
Good, no.
Other-
Thank you for the information, that's,
Other questions?
we need to get up to speed.
Well, I think the other, just from our perspective, the other part of the equation in terms of revenue is, how many trips are we making and at what level? And I just note that I think the last month we were at 18 grand, or maybe a little bit over.
Yeah, a little bit more than 18.
Yeah, and if you look at the cumulative to date, we were at like $85,000, and the budget was 90. So we're almost halfway through we're only halfway through the year, and we're almost
To our goal.
to our goal. Yeah. So I think things are really clicking along for us. But I think you're right, Mark. We need to be reasonable, and I don't think you're being unreasonable keeping us at the average. But when we're lower, there's not an advantage to that in my mind.
Right, and if insurance is going to pay for it, and we still have people that can apply for hardship if they can't, so I mean,
Yes.
because like 250, that could be, a big increase to somebody, so.
I think that's a good point, and I think we have heard some of those, not us recently, but I know that there have been some people that have come in. Yeah. Okay.
And we do have a pretty liberal hardship policy, so if someone comes in and say they can't afford it, I mean, we should,
Of course.
we should accommodate them.
Okay, other questions for the chief? Okay, if not, then Mark, are you looking for a motion to approve the rec rates, the REC?
Not so fast there, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, sorry.
We do need to have a public hearing in order to raise the rates, so
Okay,
That's the next
this
meeting.
really is just to get the board's sense of whether or not we should, move forward with proposing the rate changes, but the public hearing is required in order to raise the rates.
okay, well, thank you for reeling me back in there, appreciate that. He's protecting us and me in particular.
So, Walter, after we have the public hearing, when would it be?
retroactive
Right.
that
Is
day?
it like that day on the next?
Well, based on what you hear at the public hearing, you can determine what the effective date would be when you're ready to make a motion to make the adjustment. So, depending on whether you make it effective immediately or you make it effective January 1st, it's really up to the board to
Okay.
decide.
Yes,
Yeah.
we talked about with some of the permitting fees for new
Right.
construction and stuff. We talked about kicking that out
Right.
6 months or whatever, so.
Okay.
Okay, so that comes up when we discuss it for the vote, after we get public input. Okay.
Yes.
Tim, you had a question?
On fire related, but not off this topic.
Okay, so you don't need anything more on this, correct, Mark?
We just need you to, by consensus, agree to go forward and have the public hearing to consider.
Consensus?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a consensus, not a question, okay?
Consensus, yes.
Okay.
That's all I need.
Okay,
Thank
so
you
we
for the
have
research as
consensus. Yeah. Okay, so now since Mark's here, you had a question for him, Tim?
End of the month, I can see a tanker truck roll in, give or take?
I think
Fingers
so. We're going down there on the 23rd, 24th, 25th to do the final inspection and witness the service testing, and we're hoping that they drive it up here and we have it for the end of the month.
Another train ride coming or a car ride?
What's that?
Another train ride coming or is it a car ride?
We're all taking the train this time because
There
the
you go.
salesman was afraid that the flights would be canceled and he didn't want to be scrambling at the last minute, so we'll do some networking for a few hours.
Well, good.
Yeah, that'll be really nice.
That'll be good to see that around town.
Yeah. Okay, anything else for the chief? If not, thank you, Mark.
You're welcome, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Chief.
So we did the ambulance billing. Okay, next up is the review of the tax deeded property process. Joe, thanks for coming in.
Thanks.
Walter, do you want to introduce this and talk us through what you want us to do?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm just going to say it just so nobody has the same confusion that I did. The old process was in the packet. The new one was mailed out as a Word document a day or two ago.
Yesterday. Yeah.
So Walter's going to be speaking to that, I assume.
Yeah, it's obviously to kind of coincide with the action we just took, I kind of decided we'd speed up the process and get a draft put together rather than getting comments and then go back and bring a draft back in a couple of weeks, because under the current policy, it's not really a policy, it's a process, okay? But it was adopted by a previous board, so I think it's appropriate to update it to be, parallel with what the action of the board is looking to take in terms of disposing of the tax deeded property. So I did change the format a little bit and really didn't change the intent. The only thing that, and I apologize because I couldn't find an electronic version of this, so we had to retype it, so I couldn't do a review correction to show you where the changes are. But essentially, the thing that this does, I think, under Section 1, obviously, is just the purpose to me didn't sound worded properly, so it's
Right.
The new is just a process to determine which town properties were acquired by tax deed and by other manner should be offered for sale, and the process by which the Board of Selectmen may conduct the property sales. And so I took out, the old staff positions and put in the assessing assistant to work on preparing the packets, town administrator and the finance director, creating the Excel sheets to calculate the back taxes, interest, fees, and penalties to be prepared for the bid opening. I did add all list of properties for public sale must be reviewed by the Conservation Commission and Recreation Commission to determine if any of those properties should be considered for retention by the town for public use. That wasn't anywhere in, and I think the board agreed that that would be a good practice, which we did this particular time, so I added that. And then obviously selling the property in as-is conditions with no warranty wasn't specific, even though that's implied, but, and then the selectmen would, have the right to place certain conditions on property sales, including merging abutting lots, cleaning up debris on property, raising a building deemed not habitable, et cetera. So again, it just kind of memorializes and puts into the process those things that we are talking about doing with this upcoming sale. Non-conforming properties stayed pretty much the same, those would be first offered to budding property owners, and each abutter to the property will get a notice, which is going to be included in either one of the processes we go through, whether it's through the auctioneer or through our efforts. We're going to be notifying the abutters either way, or perhaps both ways, depending on whether the property sells or not. And obviously, they have to be received, an appropriate deadline. Yeah, the part about a site visit, again, it doesn't mean that the board meets as a board and visits them all, in a small bus or something like that. That just means individually boards, board members would visit the ones that have structures on them, which are very few, but just so that there is a understanding of the condition of the structures when it comes time to accept a bid. I think that's an appropriate task. And then,
Do you want questions now, or do you want to wait?
whatever you want, sure.
Do you mind if I interrupt?
Please.
Because I have a question on that one. It's written as will, which I noted was changed from shall, but it still seems pretty strong. And you said you think it is appropriate for all of us to see them, but we don't need to necessarily do them as a group.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are folks comfortable with that? I mean, I don't mind driving by, with the ones, as long as we know which ones they are.
And again, they're only the ones with structures, and I think there's probably 3, or maybe 4
Yeah, so it's
on
not-
our list, so it's not a heavy lift, but, again, I just think, especially when it comes time to, when the properties are selling and so forth, that you're aware that there's a cost involved in raising the building if it has to be raised, or that there's some value in a building there that's, that you understand is being sold at a certain dollar amount.
So you going to tell us which ones we actually should go look at? Like,
Yes.
okay, because
Yep.
if it doesn't have a piece of, like, if there's no building on it, I'm not going to know where this
Yeah.
yard stops and this yard, so.
Yeah, there's no need to look at the vacant land. It's just the ones with structures.
So, Walter, I'm just going to say the wording is a little bit confusing for me, and I'm just wondering if we could talk about Board of Selectmen will visit all sites that have structures or something like that, just to,
It's all open for
but
modification.
other than that, I mean, I understand the concept and I'm comfortable with it. As long as it's clear it's not a select board meeting, we're just individually going out there whenever it's convenient.
No bus ride.
Now,
Well, I'd like to avoid it being a formal meeting, and then, you have to accommodate the public, and,
yeah, no, that wasn't the intent. It was
Yeah.
really just as individuals, but we can clarify that.
yeah, let's,
We can simply say Board of Selectmen members as individuals.
yeah.
Can you expand on the phrase "as justice may require" in terms of the?
So, there is a provision in the statute providing that you're given that authority to actually sell the property under different circumstances. Okay, so for instance, if somebody came back and their 3-year repurchase time frame had expired, and in the 4th year, an heir or an individual that had a previous right in the property wanted to purchase the property, and provided the town at least whatever the town was entitled to or more, then the selectmen would have the ability to waive the other processes that are required in the statute, so.
Good, I like that.
I mean, there could be,
Yeah,
there
there
could be
could be
reasons
several
that it
reasons,
happens,
sure.
yeah, so we need to allow for it.
And then the sealed bid process, again, I just broke out that versus the auction process, and kind of updated that, it was required to be advertised like 3 times in the local papers back in 2004, when local papers were the kind of the mode of
Right.
reaching out to people, but I think once in the local paper, and then, of course, Facebook and the town website are, the kind of the current modes of notifying people about the bid sale.
Can I interject?
Sure.
Instead of maybe pinning ourselves to Facebook, can we just use a term, social media?
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only reason I mentioned Facebook is because we have a Facebook
Right,
site.
I understand, but if we're going
That
to
may
make
change.
it, we don't want to pin ourselves somewhere, because if Facebook goes away,
Yep.
then we'll have to come
Yeah.
revisit that, so. But the town website, absolutely, and then other relevant social media sites type of thing.
Yeah, good. Good.
The other items, I think, are basically the same
Yeah.
as they
look
were
pretty
in
similar.
the previous process. There might be just a little bit of word changing, but nothing's been really added, other than, actually, nothing really. As I say, more of clarifications.
Okay, so what's the next step, Walter? Do we vote on this with the items we discussed, or do you need to bring it back to us and then we vote on it?
Actually, because it's a process and not a policy and so forth, you can adopt it.
Second time, right?
Yeah, you can go ahead and adopt it tonight as a process.
People comfortable with that?
Yes.
Okay. So how about a motion to adopt it with the two discussion points that we had, a little bit of clarification on the site visit and Jim's clarification for the social media versus specific software.
So moved?
Second?
Second, and now discussion.
All good comments?
Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, Walter, that was nice.
Yeah, that read very well, Walter.
Yeah,
Good, thank you.
yeah, read much better than the other one. Okay.
Last one was from 2004, so it was definitely time to update.
The old people see me, so they're old.
Yeah, yeah.
Another one off the list.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, next up is the task manager, which is Walter's spreadsheet indicating what he's working on and the general timing. This is your opportunity to open up the discussion in terms of priorities, questions as to where he's at on certain items if he hasn't already discussed that. So anything on the task manager that people would like to bring up? I got to switch back. Looks like you're knocking off a few of them anyway, Walter, huh?
Yes, yep.
Yeah, we're definitely making progress.
I added, the last three at the bottom there, which we talked about tonight, doing the coordinating with the
Right.
auctioneer on the public auction and developing the MOU for the school, for shelter. And then it's quickly approaching budget season, so we're going to start with the department head meeting coming up this Thursday, laying some groundwork. It's going to be a bit more daunting this year because changing the software, we're also going to adopt a new chart of accounts. I think we mentioned that when we had the discussion about the software. So it's more in line with what the Department of Revenue in New Hampshire uses. So what that means is that, department heads are going to have to help us take the old items in the chart of accounts and align them with the new chart of accounts so that when we create the history, going back, approximately 5 years, that everything will line up and end up in the right bucket and not throw us off too much. It's a little daunting, but I think once people understand what we're trying to do, it should be pretty easy to do. So I want to, start having those conversations now with people, in terms of getting ready for budget season, and Cheryl's, getting her things together as well to start that process. So that's why that got put on the list now.
Yeah, that's good. Beth?
I have a question. It's not on the list. I noticed on Facebook a lot that the meadows, the pond is gone. The pond is gone at the meadows. And then someone said that they contacted the state, and the state would, concern from the town to the state get more results than...
Well, coincidentally, I just got a letter today, copied on a letter from
The dam out, what was, I mean,
the DES to the Director of Parks and New Hampshire Division of Parks, and basically they had a failure in the system that manages the water level, basically, and so it went away, and along with it went the water. Evidently, it was something that they were somewhat aware of, but obviously probably never came up with the funding to address it. So there wasn't any response back from the director so far. I'm sure they're just getting the report from DES now as far as what they're going to do in terms of whether they're going to restore the pond or not, and obviously determine what the cost is going to be and whether it's something that they can afford to do. Probably not something we're going to see done in the near future, but it is, it is unfortunate that, but it's like everything else, that division is self-funding, like others. So priorities, unfortunately didn't allow them to stay on top of that, so, but, yeah, we just got that letter today. I didn't even get a chance to copy and send it out to you, so I
Thank you.
will send it out to the board, so they have the information.
When did you see that, Beth?
It's been on Facebook. so
About a week
it's
ago.
Yeah, I saw it myself.
It started going down significantly.
Yeah. and
About a week ago.
I saw a
And
picture today, and it's like
It's empty.
puddle.
Mud floods,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and which, I mean, I think we need to stay on top of it because that park is a draw for
It certainly is.
people coming into this town, so whether it's restaurants and gas stations or whatever, there's a ripple effect, so.
Yeah, so, but I'll send you a copy of the letter.
Thank you.
The report that we got.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
We walked it a couple times, and it's bad now. I do have another question about the financial software. Have we bought it yet?
Excuse me, just one second. I just want to remind folks, on stuff like this, I would feel free to contact Walter as soon as you get even an inkling of this type of stuff, because sometimes, okay, in this case, we can't really do anything, but sometimes getting a hold of Walter sooner rather than later helps us take care of something before it gets worse. So just keep that in mind, and I would even, encourage, if somebody calls you about something, call Walter and, ask him to help us on it.
I didn't say anything when we saw it probably 2 weeks ago, starting to go down, because it's a state park. I didn't think we had anything to do with it,
Well, it's our interest, though, like
Right,
Tim or
agreed.
Matt said, it's,
It's more of an impact to the community. I mean, obviously, it's under the state,
I think
Yeah,
last year,
departments,
I pounded out like 4
management.
times last year before the girl got out here to
Yeah.
pound the state. She said, oh my God, thank you so much. I can go on to my next park. I said, no, I just do it
so
to
that
get our people out and
Right.
enjoy it, So I've done it
So
many
we
times.
can inquire about it with you then, if we see
Oh,
something.
sure, my recommendation would be to, I can draft up a letter to Director Bryce, and, let him know that the town is concerned about, the fact that,
Okay, because early in the
pond is
spring, I
impact.
mean, some trees had gone down, you couldn't really walk the path that we usually walk, me and my wife. We're going up and around and climbing over trees, so now that I know, we see something, I'll let you know.
Yeah,
I would say I'm sorry.
I'm just going to say, anything that we think affects the community, we contact Walter. He can make a judgment as to what he can or can't do
Okay,
immediately and
cool.
what he can do. And I'd rather err on the side of being safe. If we bring something to him and he can't do anything, fine, but let's err on the side of being safe than sorry.
You can't fix the pond?
well,
No, wait, we just approved the
at the
backhoe.
bottom of the page, there's no room for additional,
We got a 3,000-gallon water tanker coming in soon.
yeah.
Few trips.
We
I'm
can
sorry,
have,
Matt,
No, it's just, I mean, for things like down trees and stuff, the state park system is actually very receptive to that type of feedback, so
Yeah.
if you notice that there's a dangerous tree or whatever, just firing a message off to the state park is going to probably be much more effective than going to Walter to then, go through that. But when the lake disappears, it's
Oh,
a
yeah.
different level of effect in terms of, I mean, effectively just economic effect.
Yeah.
Right? So, I think it's important for us to just stay aware of it.
Good.
and they do have the state typically, in all their parks, does have a community relations person that you can, reach out to and kind of work with. I belong to a volunteer group that kind of took on a dilapidated state park a number of years ago along the Pemigewasset River, and, they've worked very well with community groups as well, so that might be something to think about in the future as far as working with them, not, necessarily fighting with them about,
Yeah.
things that need to be done in the park.
Good. So Jim, you had a
Yeah,
different
where are we
question.
with the financial software? Have we bought it yet? Is it
We
going?
put the order in. We're waiting now for the company to provide us with the chart of accounts. I don't know if Cheryl's actually received that as of yet, but, that process has started, and
Okay, good.
we're as I say, we're on a pretty good fast track to get this done, because they understand we want to bring it online January 1 to the new fiscal year, and we also want to try to utilize it during the budget process as much as possible, so.
Right.
But we've pulled the trigger.
Thank you.
That was a long time in coming, too.
While we're talking about our TA, I want to give him kudos, because when we were at the Budget Committee meeting, him and Cheryl did an awesome job. I just had to sit there and look nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do a good job of that.
Put my hat on, just relaxed. But no, I honestly, I heard good comments from
Yeah.
other people in the group that, because I don't know if you saw it, not to speak ill of other groups in town, but there was another group that had no representative, did not answer any of the Budget Committee questions that they had proposed to them. And here we were, I was here representing the town, Walter and Cheryl were here, and they were impressed by that, but when they had questions, Cheryl and Walter got them right back. I mean, within the same week, I believe.
That's enough for him, that's enough.
And no, I was, and it
Be able to
impressed,
get out the door.
it impressed some of the people, and I think that's what we need to do. We need to show people that, hey, we all work together, we're all part of the same town, and we're here to support one another, encourage one another, and get those answers, be transparent, be upfront. So I just want to give them kudos, him and Cheryl. It was, I heard really good stuff.
Good.
Which was really
Good.
great.
And it's good to bring it up so people know.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, other comments or questions on the task list? Okay. Anything else on your side, Walter, on the task list?
Nope, I think it's up to date.
Okay, well, thank you for that committee report, Jim.
There you go.
Tim, I'm sorry, you opened your mouth earlier.
Can
so-
we come back and make a motion to bump him up to 4,000 to 2,500? You said you want to come back and discuss that?
Oh, the
Spending
the
limit.
spending limit, do you want to do that now?
Well, at some point, well,
Might as well do it. What do you think?
What is the average for most towns?
Ooh,
It's, the last town I was in, it was 5,000. Again, it's like everything else. 5 years ago, you could buy a lot for 5,000,
Right.
but today, as you can see, we're running into things on a regular basis that are significantly,
you're 25
more.
now?
It's $2,500 my authority, yeah.
yeah.
So let me ask a question then on that. Do you know what other town averages are that the TA can do?
I guess like our size.
Yeah, well, like I said, it does vary, depending on the size of the community and so forth, but, and some communities are a little more micromanaged than others, and so, it really depends on, whether or not they're dealing with an administrative assistant versus an administrator versus a town manager, et cetera.
Right.
So, but I would say, certainly, 5,000, in my opinion, would be an appropriate level in these times. And again, it's pretty much, if it's not budgeted, if it's going to require a transfer and so forth, it has to come to the board anyway.
Right.
So, but if it's within an operating budget, or one of the capital projects, then, it would be easier, because when Chris called me last Thursday, he was kind of panicking. He says, they're coming after the machine tomorrow. I'm behind the whole story that we talked about tonight. And it made sense, to try to go ahead and execute it. Fortunately, the company was willing to allow us to keep it for a few more days to get a final determination, or we would have had to pay the much higher rate for the week, so, but.
Okay. Another question, or do you want to make a motion?
I have a question.
Go
Well,
ahead.
Statement. This board has a lot of confidence in you, Walter, but we're making a policy that will also affect future boards and future town administrators. So we have had issues in the past, so I just want that out there, just.
Yeah, I know, and
We bought 5,000 next year, we can
Right. We
bring it
can,
back.
Bring it back
Yeah,
down.
Bring it
if we
back,
need
you
to.
know what I mean? So it's,
Yeah, I was just-
yeah. So,
And I think to Beth's point, we need to be cognizant of that, and if it's appropriate, adjust. And you're right, Walter's been
Right.
doing a good job. He takes a lot of effort, puts a lot of effort into making sure the budget, I mean, just look at the spreadsheet that he and Cheryl put together to project out through the year end and stuff. So I think in this case, it's warranted.
Yep.
And we as a board need to, manage that. And if it's appropriate to change it later, then we need to step up and do it, not forget.
And the dollar figure needs to be enough that the town can still run smoothly and not wait 2 weeks.
That's the,
Right.
yeah.
That's the key.
Yeah. So what are we comfortable
I'd
with?
like to make a motion for Walter spending the 5,000 and maybe 5,000 in an email out to us. Obviously, obviously when you whatever you spend, but 5,000.
Okay, do I have a second on that?
Second.
How about discussion?
So it's up to 5,000.
Up to 5,000.
I think it's necessary, and I mean, honestly, it's what I thought it was, so.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of organizations way smaller than us that
Correct.
the equivalent position is at 2,500, so,
You can handle it.
okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thanks for reminding me, Tim.
Okay, so that's a policy amendment, so I'll bring that back at the next meeting for execution.
Okay, good enough. Any other committees that want to report? Matt, anything you want to
Sure,
say?
so on the recreation side of things, we got a big week coming up. First of all, the playground is getting used a lot, which is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Now that we've accepted the Friends of Northwood Rec gifts, the lower playground structure will be installed tomorrow, which will be nice for younger kids
Yeah.
as they're watching their siblings play on those lower fields. The fence will go in the later half of the week,
It's
so
on the upper one, nothing.
on the upper playground, there'll be no fence down there. Long-term, I do want to put a fence along the tree line.
Yeah. Keep
But
it-
that's
keep
down the
it
road.
right,
Yeah.
So big changes over there. It's going to look really nice. It's going to be looking more complete. And there's currently a shade tree that was donated and installed in memory of Cape McNally, and that's there, and it looks great. So things are churning along. We're doing good stuff up there. The other committee report I'd love to at least mention is that I've got some time squared away over the next 2 weeks to really try to get economic development truly going. We've got a couple of things on the list to square away on the ECD side of things, so I'll be sending out emails to former members and recruiting new members and being clear in terms of what we're trying to accomplish. So that's on my radar for the next 2 weeks.
That's terrific. And I'll just want to publicly state for the rec, there's a pumpkin race coming up, and I'm entering.
I plan to as well.
Okay.
Going down,
Yeah.
correct.
What are the details on that? I mean, it's like a
It's basically two axles on a pumpkin. You put two axles on a pumpkin and let her rip. Look on the
I
website.
feel like Deerfield Fair pumpkin.
No, you're not riding in the pumpkin. Think of it more like Pinewood Derby, but instead of little wooden cars, you're racing pumpkins.
It looks pretty cool.
My boys always won the Pinewood Derby. I got the trophies to prove
My
it.
kids are pretty good too.
I'll also mention I'm signing up for archery lessons, so watch out.
Yeah, the recreation director's
he's
already doing some
he's
really
moving-
exciting and innovative programming. We're happy
Moving
to
right
have it.
along, yep. Okay. Anything else as far as committee reports?
I just want to ask a question, Matt. Any discussion about a kind of a celebration with the completion of the...
Yeah, so I think we were just kind of waiting to get through this construction phase. All along, we've been talking about a late summer, early fall sort of ribbon cutting and invite the Baileys down and do all that. So I'm sure after we get through this week, there'll be some discussions there.
Okay. And I think I included you in the loop, but I definitely did Scott about, connecting with, Lakes Region Public Access, to film that and
Oh, great.
and get it on
Great.
on television and so forth, so. And I did reach out to the company that's doing the roadside mowing, excuse me, and waiting for some feedback from them about going up and just making a couple of
Couple of
trips around
passes.
the perimeter.
Great, thank you.
Up there, so I'll have that answer hopefully pretty soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. Thank you.
Okay, great, Matt. Thank you very much.
something on the ribbon cutting, probably, like, check with, Steve, Mr. Bailey, Steve, see how his mom's feeling. Maybe
Yeah.
she will dictate what day, whatever, maybe.
Yep,
but
we'll figure that all out.
Good, okay, so I don't see any public, so we don't have any more citizens forum. I did not see anything on non-public, and we didn't have minutes from the last one because we announced the results of everything last time. We did some
Do we have to
hiring.
read
and
into the minutes of the resignation?
Say that again, Beth?
Do we have to read into the minutes of resignation?
The fireman that's leaving,
Uh,
do we accept his resignation with regrets or anything?
yeah, why don't we do that? I think that's a good point. Let me read that letter. It's a good letter.
Can't blame, I mean, wish him the best.
Yeah, now where is that? I had it. Oh, right here. Yeah,
Page
thank you.
25.
So this is directed to the chief. It's a resignation from Tony Tony Macaroni. Am I saying that right?
Yep.
I think so.
So it says-
Anthony Macaroni.
Anthony, thank you. So it says, Chief, on August 18th, I am being promoted to lieutenant. Just FYI, that's in Litchfield. While I am thrilled to start my new role, it will come with added responsibilities, and I'm not sure I will be able to dedicate enough time to the Northwood Fire Department. Like all fire departments, Litchfield Fire Department is in a hiring crisis. We cannot get qualified applicants. Holdovers are increasing for all ranks, and I have to focus on covering shifts at Litchfield. I have enjoyed my time in Northwood. The department has an amazing group of dedicated members. They're lucky to have you constantly going after grants and moving the department forward. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to help out. I hope Trevor Smith works out for you guys. He's young and excited to learn. Take care and reach out anytime. It's signed Tony Mack. So do I have a motion to accept his resignation with regrets?
So moved?
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? If
So
not,
this does not put the department short-staffed. He's a per diem person, so we still have coverage, so.
That's correct.
Not on like, the bad side, but make sure he gets all his gear turned in, wherever he owes us and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Sign off
Oh,
on
yeah.
that.
And we wish the best endeavors to him.
Yes, good luck.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said Litchfield, 'cause I would've said Laconia, I don't,
okay, so we have a motion and a second to accept with regrets. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
Yeah, it was good. Anything else before we adjourn? If not, motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
second,
All those in favor?
all right?
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Signature file.
Oh, I thought
We off, Paul?